Welcome to episode 119 of the Sports Marketing Machine podcast. Today I'm joined by Jonathan, the entrepreneur behind Dash, the fan activation platform, been around for over 9+ years, and it started as a simple auction tool and it's grown into a full-scale e-commerce and marketing engine for over 400 teams across North America. We dive into his entrepreneurial journey, how teams are adapting to changing fan expectations, and why the future of sponsorship isn't just signage. It's ROI driven engagement. We dive into what's working now, how smart teams are turning simple ideas into major revenue wins, and so much more. So if you're looking to improve your fan engagement, boost sponsorship values, or tap into real-time analytics, this conversation is for you. Let's go! Jonathan from Dash, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you today.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be here and be a part of this.
Love it. So for those who are unfamiliar with Dash, what is it? What problem are you solving for sports teams, and how does your platform work?
Yes, Dash is a fan activation platform. It started as an auction platform about 9 years ago when we launched in 2016 with FC Dallas and the Houston Dynamo. But over time, it's evolved into much more than that. When people ask me what is Dash, really, we help teams with their e-commerce and marketing efforts. And to do that, it forces us to activate with their fans. So for us, when it comes to activation, that's driving a purchase and getting fans to give us their information, name, number, email. I always tell teams it's easy to collect the data. What you do with it is the most important part. And we help teams start that funnel and get fans through and activate and reactivate and make money for their organizations.
Love it. Where did the idea come from? Because you were working in sports before and kind of ran into a brick wall, right?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I'll take you on a quick Dash journey real quick, an elevator pitch of sorts. So I started my sports career back in 2010 with FC Dallas. I was in ticket sales. Our team was hosting pen and paper auctions on our concourse. And I said, Melissa, everybody's walking in with one of these things. We should digitize this process. Did a little bit of research and realized there was no company out there that was connecting teams and their fans through charitable auctions. And I thought that was just such a great idea. Everyone's getting on their phones now, being able to get memorabilia from your favorite teams directly from the games you're attending. And a lot of the times too, most of the auction revenue that comes through Dash goes right back into the communities that individuals live in. So I am not a technical person at all, Jeremy. I am much more sales, marketing, entrepreneurship. So I was going around Dallas, Fort Worth to different meetups and startup events looking for people who could help me build a platform that teams would get excited to put in the palms of their fans' hands. I got on an elevator one day and met the guys who built the digital platforms for brands like NBC Universal, WWE, Nat Geo, Nickelodeon. I mean, the who's, the list goes on. I give Jason my little 30-second elevator pitch, and we get off the elevator, and Jason's like, okay, I'll help you start this business. Real casual. So we took the idea to concept to revenue in 60 days. We brought a product to market in April of 2016 and have since grown to partner with 400 sports teams all across the United States, Canada. We process about $15 million in sales with our team just this last year alone. And as we started with auctions, teams started to say, Jonathan, this is great. Can you build us an instant purchase functionality? We want to be able to sell tickets, merchandise, game experiences, chuck-a-pucks in fun and compelling ways before, during, and after our games. Can you build this? We said, absolutely. So we checked that box. We have some teams who they're hosting raffles and sticking their hand in a fishbowl and pulling out a red raffle ticket. And they said, Jonathan, can you help us create a tool that allows us to sell tickets on the internet. We need to be able to facilitate more credit card transactions. And we said, absolutely. And that's been a great revenue generation tool, lead generation tool, a great sponsorship vehicle for our teams. But in addition, when I was at FC Dallas, one of our best and my best lead generation tools as a ticket sales rep was standing on the concourse, standing next to the Wheel of Destiny, where fans could come up and write John Doe at phone number 555 at johndoe@yahoo.com and spin the wheel for a prize. There may be some people who contest this thought, but I can guarantee you there are more John Does that live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area than anywhere else in North America. So as we continue to build our platform, and really the auctions are the hook that have brought teams on board and fans on board, but as they use our platform more, they start using more of the functionalities to activate, engage, bring value to their ticket department, their merch department, their sponsorship department, their community department. And we've been very fortunate to be able to work with some really great individuals across all these sports teams who are lean in, entrepreneurial. I always tell people we work with the most creative people out there, and that's sports folks, just like you and I and the folks that listen to the podcast here. So that's what Dash has become, is this kind of comprehensive fan activation tool that helps teams facilitate credit card transactions and identify quality leads that they can pass on to the most important people in their organizations to drive more revenue.
One of the big takeaways that I got from that was when teams came to you and said, hey, can we add this? Can we try this? Can we do this? You guys weren't like, nope, this is it. This is the only thing that we do. You were willing to kind of pivot and add and what have you to make it easier for teams. So I think that says a lot about your organization, says a lot about kind of the direction of where you're trying to go.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. In entrepreneurship, you always are kind of pivoting and listening. About the only thing we do stay focused on and we don't change is that we only work with sports teams. We are only building a software and a service to empower sports teams. So there's a lot of things that get auctioned off on the internet, and there's a lot of big businesses like eBay or even familiar name Deal Dash. They stay in that lane, and that's great for them. But for us too, we could have gone in those types of directions. But everyone that works at Dash, we love sports. Everyone's been a client of Dash. We've worked in front offices, and our very specific focus of working with sports teams has allowed us to listen closely and build the things that teams are asking for that empower and grow their business. And so if you're unwilling to change on many things, that can be detrimental. But if you're unwilling to change on your vision of changing the way that fans get their hands on the most authentic sports memorabilia and game experiences, which has always been our North Star, we've been able to pivot in the right ways to bring more value.
You mentioned kind of the fan expectations are changing over time. I mean, just Apple phones in general, like they can do way more things than they could 10 years ago. When it comes to digital engagement, do you see teams adapting to it? Are they a little slow? Where do you kind of see how teams are adapting to fan expectations specifically for digital engagement?
Yeah, it has been a little bit slow. Change is difficult for everybody, whether you're working in a sports front office or maybe it's something at home or something at your church group or a nonprofit that you work in. Things that have helped our business is just the evolution and comfortability, if that's the right word.
If that's a word, yeah.
And just knowing that this is where most people live these days. A lot of it varies by sport too. Our hockey teams are very, very lean in. We're fortunate enough to be able to work with a lot of decision makers in these front offices where if they have a problem, they can come to us. And that problem may be, hey, I've got a sponsor who's trying to accomplish this, or we're trying to trend towards a sellout for this game and we need some sales ideas, where they can pick up the phone with us. We can provide some ideas, some best practices and success stories for them to be armed to go out and achieve that through our platform. But recently, and especially this past hockey season, we have seen a lot of teams kind of have that aha light bulb moment that this device right here is a point of sale that lives in everybody's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And getting them to the point of sale is really the most important thing. And while you've got fans in the building, which is your best commercial, it is the best and most emotional opportunity to facilitate a credit card transaction in the easiest way possible as well. Fans don't need to go find a particular sales table for Chuck a Puck. They don't need to go find a particular table to enter in to win a seat upgrade that night. It can
Mm-hmm.
all be directed here. And just the aha moments of leaning in more on the game days to facilitate transactions in the palm of folks' hands while they're in their seats has been really some of the biggest transformations that we've seen from our teams in the last season. And, it's for guys like you and I who are really on the forefront of these things, like, 5, 6, 9 years ago, we're banging our heads against the
Mm-hmm.
wall because we see it very clearly. But I have empathy for the folks that work in the front offices. I mean, most people working in front offices are wearing 4 or 5 different hats, so it's not as clear when it comes to our kind of specific niche when they're worried about other things like turnover, players coming and going, the Friday, Saturday homestand that's 3 days away, and they still got to sell a couple thousand more tickets. I can totally understand, but
Yeah, totally. It's hard to see through the forest when you're stuck in the trees. Is that saying specifically?
100%. And it takes businesses like ours
Mm-hmm.
to help stay top of mind, to help drive front office innovation as well.
Yep. What are some good promotions? You mentioned Chuck a Puck, which is marvelous. I think some sports and baseball teams do kind of splash for cash and some of those types of
Sure.
things. What are some other great promotions that you've seen outside of your jersey auctions that you guys are doing that are just fantastic and teams are kicking butt with?
Yeah. One this past year, I'll toss out a couple. One is jerseys. It's a great moneymaker for teams. And it is our highest selling item for teams across the board is being able to get that jersey. As a fan, you can wear it to work. You can wear it out to Friday night with your buddies. Friday night jersey auctions. So season-long activations. Every Friday, a team will put up 2 jerseys that are specific to the Friday night jersey auctions. And what's neat about it is it can almost be a throwback to, or it can be a player who is up and coming that is very popular. But it's just 2 jerseys every Friday night exclusively on Dash, and that's the only time to get it. Another one that's been a lot of fun too, which has turned into a really strong sponsor activation for our teams, is first goal puck auctions. So when that first goal is scored, that puck goes up for auction, and fans have the opportunity to take that puck home at the end of the night. What's fun about it is some teams will layer the opportunity for that fan to meet the player who scored that goal, or layer on sponsor activations. If you've got 32 home games every single season, well, that's 32 opportunities to get a sponsor in front of that fan. Depending on what the goals are for that sponsor, it may be generating nonprofit revenue. It may
Mm-hmm.
be generating impressions or generating an experience that aligns with that brand that brings a surprise and delight and smiles to fans as well. So really, yeah, Friday night jersey auctions, first goal pucks, another one, and then I could go on and on, Jeremy. There's been some we like I said, we work with some very creative people who lean into the successful stuff. But we have a team down in Florida, the Florida Everblades.
Mm-hmm.
They started running a guaranteed giveaway for their fans. And so every team has a door prize activations, whether it's bobbleheads, youth jerseys, et cetera, et cetera. First 5,000 fans get X.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Florida, some of their fans, they don't have time to stand in line. Maybe they want to spend their Saturday having dinner with their family and then walking into the game versus, hey, we've got to cut dinner short because we got to go stand in line for 2 or 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So what Florida would do on their big giveaway games is they would list for sale a low quantity amount of bobbleheads or youth jerseys where if a fan really wanted to have that promotional item, they could go to Dash, they could purchase it, and it would be ready for them when they arrive at the arena on their own time. And that's been fantastic. I mean, they this past year alone, it was a first year program, and they generated $17,000 selling 400 items throughout the season.
That's wild. Yeah, Adam and the team down there, they're just sharp people and they just kick butt. They do a great job. What about ticket promotions? Because I'm sure teams are starting to use Dash more and more for ticket promotions.
They are. It's anything from selling premium inventory to exclusive ticket holder activations around renewal period to mystery tickets. Mystery tickets was not something I was familiar with when I was selling at FC Dallas, but our creative group here, literally sitting around on a Saturday thinking of more ways that we could sell fun items on Dash, decided, well, why can't we sell tickets? And it's an idea that actually came from a merchandise activation that the Tucson Roadrunners had activated against when COVID had just started. So COVID hit. The Roadrunners had just purchased a bunch of merchandise for in-store sales. Well, their season got cut short by 4 or 5 games, and they came to us and said, well, what can we do to move some of this inventory? And we said, hey, we've got some teams who are selling mystery merchandise items. Put $100 or 100 items up for sale at $25 a piece. When they're gone, they're gone. But what makes this activation special is there's going to be some fans at $25 who are going to win a signed puck or a signed jersey or a signed mini stick. And with me putting my ticket sales hat on, I'm thinking, man, this would really be great if we could do this in season. A fan could sit on the glass, center ice, mid-court, behind the bench, and the other 80% of those tickets could just be the general admission tickets. So once COVID kind of ended and people were coming back to the arenas, a lot of teams started to sell more mystery tickets. It's not an exclusive activation to Dash. Really, it's just providing a surprise and delight moment for fans, but you just got to sell the credit card transaction first for a ticket sales department.
Yeah, it's such a unique idea. You know what I love about this is just the creativity around it. The teams are getting really, really creative with a bunch of ideas. But if you're just getting started with Dash, it can be overwhelming. Like to the extent of like the Cheesecake Factory, they give you a menu this big. Like it's just overwhelming. So what do you guys typically do to help teams get started to say, okay, let's just start with this, and then you can kind of layer things on later?
Yeah, sure. We've got a great girl here, Carson Stinson. She's our VP of Partner Strategy and Activation. She was a client of Dash at the South Carolina Stingrays, but she is constantly available. She is sitting shotgun with all of our teams throughout the onboarding process and beyond. And she's got a great newsletter that goes out to sharing those ideas, best practices, and success stories. In our business, we don't make money until teams make money. So it really does behoove us to ride shotgun with these teams, hold their hands, make sure that the basics in getting people from 0 to 1 so that they can start absorbing these additional ideas like first goal puck auction, Friday night jerseys, mystery tickets, mystery merchandise. Getting them 0 to 1 is the most important. But it's always been the auctions that are the hook to get not only teams but fans to our platform. And that's fine. It's our number one selling item, our auction items. It's the highest revenue generating functionality that we have on Dash. So helping teams just get that initial auction set up where they can go through their own experience of setting up, soliciting, marketing, fulfilling. They get much more comfortable with the platform, and then they're like, well, that worked pretty good, what else can we do? And they lean on Carson to help them get to the next step and open their eyes. And then we do fun things too, for the teams that have been around for a while, and you could do this at the beginning too, but we have monthly competitions that spur consistency, creative ideas. As you know, most sports teams are competitive with each other, which is great because then it does spur the creativity, and other teams can see what's going on and then they can make it their own as well. So some people will say like Savannah is very competitive with Adam Winslow in Florida, and they'll say, well, how the heck are they doing that? We should be beating the Everblades. We are X, Y, and Z. And so they'll see what Adam's doing and they'll say, well, we could try to do that better. And then a couple weeks later, they're running their own guaranteed giveaway on Dash as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the kudos to Carson, because I constantly see on LinkedIn what she's sharing, what teams are doing, and it's celebrating the efforts and the ideas and the creativity of the teams. So that just spurs more ideas, spurs more sponsorship activation. So it's just a great. She's great employee. Marvelous ideas are getting shared. But you're right, teams are competitive. They want to beat the next guy for sure.
Yep. One of our big challenges in our business is something that's very simple, and it is helping teams understand what success actually looks like, right? You may think that I sold 50 items in a week. Wow, that's really great. And then a team like Coachella will go out and sell 350 items in a week. And you're like, well, I didn't know we could do that. And it helps to break the barriers of what is actually possible. So we spend a lot of time focused on how do we show teams what success really looks like, and then take them through the steps, whether it's hand holding, it's our newsletter, it's posts you may see on LinkedIn, for them to get to where they want to be too. One of the, is a salesperson, I mean, you probably know this too, is like not being fearful to try new things. Failure is an absolute huge part of the process as well. You could fail 8 out of 10 times, but you might find 2 things that absolutely crush it for you, which can help change the course of your business.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to pivoting, like we were talking about here just a little bit ago, that's part of the way we pivot. You try new things, and what works, it sticks with, and what doesn't, well, now you know. But at least you tried.
That's exactly right. And I think sometimes teams get nervous about trying new things. Well, our fans aren't they're really old, or they don't adapt to digital technologies. And it's like, you know what? Let's just give it a try and let's see what happens, right?
You've got to stop making buying decisions for your fans before you've even given them the opportunity to do that. That's one of those things that I pull my hair out here is teams will say, I don't think our fans will do that. Well, have you tried? No. Well, go out and try it. Don't, as a sales leader, you cannot make the buying decision for your fans. Let them do that.
Spot on, spot on. So one of the pieces that we haven't talked about is the data side of things. So you're collecting an enormous amount of data for teams. What does it look like on the back end, and how can teams use the data that they're collecting from these types of sales, not only just from sponsorships, but tickets to promotions and so forth?
We do collect a lot of data. Not all of that data is something that we share automatically with teams. So, for example, are your fans using an iOS device or an Android device? What model is it? We don't share that kind of stuff. We see it, and we make our decisions when we build software for it. But for teams, and it was when I first started in sports, I was floored by how much of an emphasis there was on just collecting email addresses and building a database. And so for us, the biggest things that we share are names, numbers, and email addresses with teams. When somebody goes to make a purchase, that is an indication that they're buying something in an endorsement of your brand. They're also a great lead to follow up on too. Hey, I saw you bought a $100 XYZ or a $70 puck. Like, who's the hockey fan in the family? What made you want to buy this? We do take it several steps further beyond just the name, number, and email, which are the most important. Like I said earlier, collecting the data is one thing. What you do with it is another. And one of the reasons we don't share too much data is that the most important data is the leads that are coming through and the individuals who are activating with your front office. Some of the other data, though, that we do share is purchasing habits, like how many auction items are you selling? Instant purchase items are you selling? What percentage of revenue is that? The number of individuals who are coming to your activations. One of the things in our business, because we started with a very minimally viable product. I mean, it was just an auction
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't have a lot of data. We weren't sharing that data. But as more teams were running more auctions on Dash, we started to see the viewership numbers were huge. You would see 1,500 to 2,000 people would tune into Macon Mayhem auction or an FC Dallas auction. And teams would maybe only sell 20, 30 items at a time. So with that type of audience and a low number of items being listed, displaying that data to the stakeholders and the revenue generating decision makers, we weren't doing it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we made a simple tool within Dash where we could include those stakeholders within the front offices to receive those recap emails that said, here's the number of items you sold. Here's the number of people that purchased. Here are some ideas of what you can do to drive more revenue. And it really is just putting more sales in front of your fans. If you're spending all that time and effort and marketing to get people to only buy 30 items, well, why would you not list another 90 to 100 items while all
Correct.
these folks are there?
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's what I would think about. If you were a new team, you would start off with a few. You're like, all right, I'm just going to dip my toes in the water here. But when you get numbers like that, you're like, all right, I know I can. There's lots of people who are going to these pages, checking this stuff out. Let me just add a bunch of stuff. Why not? It won't hurt. Let's see if we can make some money here.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, Dash is most teams have a Shopify store.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Very passive e-commerce experience. Pretty much all of us are familiar with it. Dash is very different in the sense that it's an active, participatory e-commerce experience that drives urgency throughout the sales process, which can be tough for selling tickets or sponsorship or merchandise in a store. Where on Dash, most of the sales they're in and they're out, and you move on to the next promotion that your club is hosting. So there's countdown timers, there's quantity timers on all the instant purchase items. Auctions are naturally competitive. They're emotional. They get people very stimulated. Most people want to win.
Mm-hmm.
There's limited items that are available. So it really does drive a lot of urgency for fans to get in and make that purchase and for teams to get in and out and then on to the next activation that they're listing to drive more sales.
What do you think is, technology is going to continue to evolve. AI is changing things. It just, things are moving really, really fast. Where do you think digital sponsorships, digital activations are going to go in the next few years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd seen a post on LinkedIn not too long ago that talked about how people aren't sponsoring your team anymore. They're partnering with your team. And the reason they're partnering with your team is because they need you to drive some type of ROI, whether it's growing the number of great experiences that are associated with your brand, such as winning that first goal puck and meeting that player, and the kids in the family are smiling because it's an experience they wouldn't be able to get anywhere else. Or you're running an activation that it might be an enter to win, and it's associated with that great baseball team, but your partner is a fast food joint down the street that's looking for foot traffic. So what can that front office do? Well, they can help drive more foot traffic through an enter to win campaign because they've just collected these individuals' emails. And on Monday, it could say, hey, remember that seat upgrade activation or enter to win that you entered? We hope that you won. But if you didn't, we still want to take care of you on behalf of our great partner, this fast food joint. Here's a burger, fries, and a Coke for $12. That's typically $20. Go into the store, into time only, and go have a great experience there as well. So I think a lot of these businesses, they're getting savvier and they realize, like, I need something that's going to give me data of how many people engage with my brand? Is it driving the experiences, the foot traffic? If it's a nonprofit that's sponsoring your team, is my $2,500 sponsorship driving $10,000 worth of sales? And a lot of that can easily be tracked on Dash just by looking at the final sale amount or the number of emails that were captured and then sent out on a Monday morning through a MailChimp campaign. So in my opinion, yeah, I think it's not about selling Dasher boards anymore. Who knows how many people are watching your Jumbotron in between innings or intermissions. With technology today, we are all empowered to easily reach a lot of people to drive them to what we want them to do, which could be, engaging in a great experience or going to that fast food joint. So that's where I think it's going.
Love it. Activations are heading towards more experiences and driving ROI. And I think that's the part where you're spot on, where in the old days we're selling signage and it's just brand awareness. But here, people are looking for more, not only just the fan, but sponsors as well. So you're spot on.
Yep. Business owners are far more savvy because of this and platforms like Facebook and Instagram, where you could spend $1,000 and get your ROI in your numbers versus spending $1,000 at a sports team who's going to put you up on the Jumbotron, who they can't tell you how many people actually saw that ad. They can tell you how many tickets were sold, but they don't know how many people actually engaged.
Yep, yeah. I love the direction of where you're headed, and I love the entrepreneurship about it, where you're just constantly pivoting and making things better for teams. Like, I love everything you guys are doing, so you got a fan over here for sure.
Thanks, Jeremy.
You got it. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to continuing to follow along your journey.
Likewise. Appreciate you having me on.